Check it. Haha.
Today, I want to talk about, I'm going to try to make it brief. I know I always say that, and it's about 9-10 minutes. I don't know why the hell I say that, but I'm going to try. What I want to talk about today is, just to simplify things, we'll talk about lactose intolerance, we'll talk about gluten intolerance. I used to be lactose intolerant, right? I work with a lot of people, and I actually would say this, and I'm not doing research, but 100% of the people I work with that are lactose intolerant are actually gluten intolerant. Now, to figure out if you're gluten intolerant, there's many ways. The simplistic way is eliminate all gluten-containing foods, sauces from your diet for at least 90 days. And just basically see how you feel, if you have increased energy, if you feel nourished. At that 91st day, put gluten into every meal. And then basically that one day or the next day, see how you feel. If you feel a lot of your symptoms come back while you're gluten intolerant. That's the simplest. The second is you can actually do different types of testing to see if you're gluten intolerant. The two best tests that I've used are saliva or stool. So that's one way to do it. Well, what's the correlation between lactose and gluten intolerance? I don't want to sit here and educate you about gluten intolerance. I want to talk about this correlation because from my eyes, lactose intolerance is actually a symptom of being gluten intolerant. I was lactose intolerant. I drank the lactate milk for years. This is a long time ago in college. I chewed the pills, and you can see what these pills contain. It's just sugar and a bunch of chemicals, so it causes GI inflammation and overloads the liver and detox system. Plus, most of the lactate milk out there is highly pasteurized. It has vitamin A palmitate in it, which is basically synthetic vitamin A. And then they add in basically the sugar so you can digest it. So you're drinking pasteurized synthetic sugar water, right? It does nothing to benefit the body. Humans don't need milk after breastfeeding. Humans don't need milk. If you think you're going to get calcium from drinking milk, well, you've just basically been brainwashed through marketing to believe that the only way you can get calcium is to drink milk. And you've also been brainwashed to believe that, ingesting calcium gives you strong bones. Yes, that's part of the process. We need protein and hormone balancing and on and on. That's a whole other topic in itself. But you actually need vitamin D to actually absorb calcium. So if you're taking calcium and you don't have vitamin D in the body, well, real vitamin D, well, you're not even going to absorb calcium. Vitamin D actually regulates protein synthesis and the absorption and distribution of calcium. Not synthetic vitamin D, real vitamin D. So what happens is when you're lactose intolerant or gluten intolerant? Well, when you're gluten intolerant, there's many different forms of it. The major form is celiac disease. You have villi and microvilli in your gut. The villi in your stomach look like this. So if you took a piece of paper and kind of scrunched it, your villi in your gut look like this, right? This helps you basically digest food, absorb food, and assimilate food so you can actually heal and move and produce hormones and on and on. At the top of these villi, you have microvilli. They're like little hairs. These little hairs actually release lactase, the enzyme to digest lactose, so you can actually break down milk. Well, when you're gluten intolerant, a lot of the times you looked at some of the symptoms. One of the main symptoms is malnutrition. People that can actually gain weight, but you see malnutrition, you can be overweight and undernourished. What happens is the gluten causes so much inflammation in the gut. Over time, the villi start to actually degenerate. And they degenerate and degenerate. So now you don't have villi or microvilli. You almost actually have a smooth surface in the gut. It's highly inflamed. You have a smooth surface. So the foods you ingest, you can't digest, absorb, assimilate. You can't break them down. You have malnourishment. At the same time, if you drink milk, you can't break down the sugar, right, that's in the milk because you don't have the microvilli to break down the lactose. You're not releasing lactase. So you can see how a lactose intolerance is usually a sign of a gluten intolerance. So what's my recommendation? If you're lactose intolerant, throw the pills out the window, right? Doesn't do anything good for the body. You're probably better off chewing on cardboard than eating those pills from a health perspective. Secondly, get rid of the milk. Just completely get rid of the milk. And keep in mind, you can have a parasitic infection, a bacterial infection. You can have severe food intolerances. You could be eating toxic foods. All these things can create a lactose intolerance, meaning anytime your villi go like this, you're going to be lactose intolerant. But the most common thing I see is gluten intolerance because gluten's in sauces. Most people eating boxed canned foods nowadays. They're eating tons of grains that contain gluten. They're drinking beer. Most of the meats people are buying are actually fed gluten-containing foods, right? If you eat a piece of meat in that cow is fed gluten. Well, you're eating gluten. That's why grass-fed beef is the healthiest, or free-range chicken, things like that, or New Zealand lamb, or New Zealand anything from New Zealand is grass-fed. So eliminate all the gluten-containing foods, plus the lactase, plus the milk. Eliminate all gluten-containing foods. You can do your research on what gluten is in. It's actually in most wheat, barley, and rye, and oats, depending on the person. Eliminate it for 90 days. You can do a test, but just eliminate it for 90 days. Follow the principles on my website. Stop drinking milk. At that 91st day, if you feel completely better, I wouldn't even add it back in. Of course, there might be other things you need to do, but eliminate it, see what happens. A lot of your symptoms will go away. Everyone reacts differently. Most of my symptoms are up here when I eat gluten. I can't connect my words. Some people, it's more digestive. So it's different per person, so don't just say these are the definite symptoms of gluten intolerance. But eliminate it. Eliminate the milk. You don't need the milk. It doesn't make a body good, so pass it on. If it did, why do so many people have osteoporosis? You could ask yourself that question. So hopefully you've learned something quick. It's under 9 minutes. It's actually 6 minutes or so. It's the quickest I've ever done. So just keep in mind, don't keep chasing the branch of an issue. Really look for the root, and you can really help yourself out or help a loved one out with their overall vitality. So hopefully you enjoyed this quick clip. I'll catch you later.